Welcome back, Leo Lions. This is Mrs. Morgan with today's lesson on adding integers. So remember, we already talked about integers and the definition on that. So integers are positive and negative whole numbers. So what we're really doing is adding numbers that are positive, negative, but they're whole numbers. We have no fractions or decimals. Okay, so let's start out. We're first going to do some examples with just using a number line, going back and forth on a number line. And if you ever get confused, don't know exactly how to answer an addition of integers, then you could always go back to thinking of your number line. So first of all, we don't have a number line filled out here, so let's create one. The arrows on the end show that the number line goes on and on forever. And then about right in the middle is 0. And we'll make some lines 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Doesn't have to be perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then let's number our number line. Okay, so whatever number is first in the problem, that's where we're going to start on the number line. If we are adding a positive number, then we're going to make our number bigger. We're going to go to the right. If we're adding a negative number, well, then we're going to go left towards the negatives. So let's look at this first example. I'm going to do it in pink. So we're going to start out on -4. So here's -4 on our number line. Okay, and we're going to add 8. Since it's positive, we're going to go towards the right. So we're going to go to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to do this 8 times. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we stop. So we are at 4. So our answer is 4. -4 plus 8. Okay, I'm going to do the next problem in a different color so you can see the different questions. So -1, we're going to start at -1. Now we're adding a negative number. So that means we're going to go towards the left. We're going to go towards the negative numbers. So we're adding a -3. We need to go to the left 3 times. So 1, 2, 3. And ironically, we end up on that number we started off in the last problem. So -4. Okay, and last one, I'm going to do another color. So we're going to start at +5. And we're adding a -7. So since we're adding a negative, again, that means we need to go towards the negative number. So we need to go left. And we're going to go left 7 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We end up right here. So that is our answer. -2. Okay, now unfortunately we can't always use a number line if we're dealing with a problem with much bigger numbers. The number line isn't going to be very fun to draw. Take for example this next problem here. We have -32 and we're adding a -14. I wouldn't really want to create that number line. So let's talk about some rules that we can use where we don't need the number line. So first we want to look at the two numbers in the problem. Do they have same signs or different signs? So in this example here, we have a -32, we have a -14. So both numbers have the same sign. Okay, what I often refer to this rule, just to help you remember the rule, I call this the party method. And that's simply because the two numbers, they get along. They both have something in common. So they both have that negative number in common. Okay, so those two numbers are going to come together and party. So when they come together, that means that we're going to add the two numbers. Okay, and whatever they have in common, so in this case they're both negatives, well, they're going to keep that in common when they come together. So we're going to add and then keep the sign that they have. Okay, now you've been doing this for years, you just didn't realize it. So something like 12 plus 8, well, we knew to just add them. 12 plus 8 is 20. And there you go. You've been doing that since elementary, but you didn't realize that they're both positives. So we add them and we keep the answer positive. Okay, it's the same thing that if our answers or if our numbers in the problem are negative. So for example, this one, negative 32 plus negative 14, all we have to do is add the numbers and then keep the sign. So I know our answer has to be negative. And then if you don't know 32 plus 14 off the top of your head, well then we could stack them. And 2 plus 4 is 6. 3 plus 1 is 4, so our answer is negative 46. Okay, so if they have same signs, both negatives, or if they're both positives, just add them, keep the sign. Okay, next rule is different signs. And again, to help you remember, this is what I call the battle method. Because in this case, the two numbers don't have the same sign, so they don't agree, they don't get along. So in this example here, we have a negative 22, we have a positive 40 plus 40. So the two signs disagree, they don't have anything in common, so they're going to come up and they're going to fight, they're going to battle. Okay, when they come together and fight, we're going to subtract them. And then the one who wins the battle is the one with the bigger sign. So subtract, and then we keep the sign of the larger number. Okay, now, how do we determine which one is the larger number? Because if we have a positive and a negative, well, the positive is always larger. Well, we got to look at their absolute values. So we're looking at the numbers without the positive or the negative in front of them. So we're looking at just simply the number 22 and 40. So in this case, 40 is bigger. So we know our our answer has to be positive in the end. To help you, if you want to write down that plus sign, you may, just so that you don't forget about it. But we know numbers don't have to have a plus sign in front of them if they're positive. Okay, so in this scenario, in this example here, we have negative 42 plus 40. Since they're different signs, we're actually going to subtract them, and I'm going to stack them. So 40 minus 22, and we'll have to borrow 10 minus 2 is 8. 3 minus 2 is 1. So we have positive 18 is our answer. Okay. Now the second example is very, very similar, except the sign switch. So we have a positive 22 plus negative 40. So they are different signs. The first one's positive, the second one's negative. So we know it follows in this rule. We're going to subtract them. We already subtracted them. Okay, but we want to take the sign of the bigger number. That one wins the battle. So we have 22, we have 40. Well, we already talked about 40 is bigger. So in this case, our answer is negative, and then subtract them. So it's negative 18. Okay. So what we're doing here is we're using opposites. Opposites are also called, we call them additive inverses. Okay, so for example, if we had two numbers that are opposite, something like 3 plus negative 3, okay, they add, so we see we have a positive number, we have a negative number, so when we add them, we actually have to subtract them. So 3 minus 3 is 0. Now in this case, they're both the same number, so we don't, the positive or the negative doesn't win the battle in the end. 0 is just 0. It's nothing. It's not a positive number or a negative number, so it's 0. And that is what we call opposites or additive inverses. Okay? What I'd like you guys to do is pause the video here and try these 4 examples on your own, and then play the video and see if you could get them correct. Okay? So, negative 16 plus 8, we have different signs. We have a negative and a positive. So we know we have to subtract them. So 16 minus 8, and we do get 8. Now, which number is bigger? We have 8, we have 16, so 16 is the bigger number, and that wins the battle, so our answer has to be negative in the end. Okay? And I'm going to use my arrows just to show which number is bigger. Okay? Next problem, we have same signs. So we have a negative 42 plus negative 5. So these are same signs. So we need to add them. 42 plus 5 is 47. and then we want to keep the sign that they have. So there we go. Next one, we have different signs. We have, sorry, and that was hard to read. We have a positive 30 plus negative 15. So different signs means we're actually going to subtract them. And when we subtract them, we always take the bigger number minus the smaller number. And then keep the sign of the bigger number. So we have 30, we have 15. 30 is bigger, so our answer needs to be positive, so we can keep it just 15 like that. Okay? And then last one, negative 100 plus negative 13. We have same signs, so we will add them. 100 plus 13 is 113. And then keep the sign, so it needs to be a negative in the end. Okay? Common error I see is we forget to put that sign in our final answer. So I would think about your signs, what's your answer going to be in the end, and write it down right away so that you don't forget.